A single glance at any Brothers in Arms game will make you think, yup, that's a war game. They're so generic looking that for me personally, I had absolutely zero drive to even give one a shot. I just didn't care about them. But that was until I found a collector's edition of Brothers in Arms Hell's Highway for Xbox 360 at a local shop for $15. A pretty good price, and I'm a huge fan of picking up collector's editions for that generation of games while they're so cheap still. So I bought it, got home, played it a couple days after because even after owning the game, I still had no drive to try it. It's just painfully bland looking. It looks like they took stock footage, pasted it in front of a battle scene wallpaper, and then put a red tint on it. But I eventually finally do load up the game and tell myself, yeah, I'll just play the first mission and then move on to the game I care more about. Knight's Contract, a niche Xbox 360 game with a cool premise, and it's looking like an ARPG. I'm all interested into it. But as I started playing Brothers in Arms, it ended up being harder to put down than I imagined. This game is clunky. Like, even for the era, its movement is slow and unresponsive. As soon as it felt that way, I almost just put the game down immediately. But I switched the control scheme to Tour of Duty, which I assume is just a jab at the Call of Duty franchise because that's exactly what this control scheme is. Which I'd say pretty inarguably was the best shooter controls at the time, and pretty much made every shooter adapt those controls, and if they didn't, it usually felt pretty bad to play. But aside from the control scheme, the aiming and sprinting are very delayed, around a half second I guess, which can feel terrible in a shooting game. The sprinting especially is really tough. If you position poorly, it's going to take so long for your sprint to actually start that usually you're just dead before you can run out of a fight. Now, little did I know all of this was actually genius and made you play this first-person shooter like none I've ever played before.
Quick, sit up there!
You see, Brothers in Arms revolves around you commanding your comrades, controlling them on where to move, where to take cover, what enemies to shoot at, etc. You end up controlling multiple different types of comrades even at the same time with different abilities such as the Bazooka Squad or the Assault Squad, which obviously have different weapon types. Now, I've played other games with this mechanic and even other shooters with this mechanic, but it's really tough to balance both the activity of first-person shooting down your enemies and controlling a squad. And I think Brothers in Arms suavely executes this better than any game I've ever seen. They even introduce you to suppressing fire to distract and force the enemy to take cover just so that you can reposition. Or flanking, where this beautifully animated diagram shows up on screen explaining to you that after calling for your team to suppress the enemies, you can actually take flank routes and get a huge advantage in that fight. And they go on to explain that most maps and levels will be designed to encourage this sort of strategic play. And my God, were they correct. Every single map I've played so far has beautifully laid out cover you have to slowly move up into, constantly calling up your team to the right positions, and one mistake gone uncorrected could cost you team members for the rest of the level. If team members die, they do not respawn, and that's crucial in this game. Brothers in Arms is balanced around being able to call upon your brothers for their arms. I can't believe I wrote that into the script. I'm sorry about that one. But it's balanced upon being able to call your comrades for help. Without them, the game becomes incredibly difficult. Constantly just peeking up for pot shots. The levels end up taking way longer without your teammates if you made a mistake and got your brothers killed. I played this game on the easiest difficulty and I still die really fast and quite often. You do kill enemies faster on this difficulty it seems, but I assume the devs did this so that no matter what difficulty you play on, the game is still reliant on its core mechanics and strategy is still going to be important. I haven't died this many times on the easiest difficulty of a game and enjoyed it so much in a very, very long time, maybe ever. Every time I felt like I was learning and there was something to adjust to. They lean into this almost RTS-like mechanic of controlling your men so heavily when most other games like this, it would just be a side feature. And in this game, it is the battle. It is the feature where your shots from your weapon are almost like support fire to that mainline mechanic. You end up feeling like just another infantryman opposed to the brave, incredible war hero, which is wildly refreshing to this genre, especially at the time when this game was released in 2008. Even a quick Google will show this game at magnificent reviews in saying that it is one of the best World War II reenactment video games they've ever played. So why does no one talk about it? I think it truly just comes down to the look. I think Brothers in Arms looks generic, and I understand it because I went through that exact same issue, but I do think it's worth playing, and I think it's a fantastic game. Now, I've been avoiding talking about the story even though it's a huge part of this game with long-winded yet still interesting enough cutscenes. I definitely find my attention fading in and out during them, but that's probably more of a my brain issue than a fault in the product. I will say it is so hard to follow this convoluted mess of a story, but you almost also don't have to for it to be impactful and enjoyable. There are so many time jumps forwards and backwards in the opening sequence. I think they visit like 5 different locations and time periods in the matter of a couple minutes. I literally can't keep track of what's happening, characters' names, etc. One of the characters I do end up remembering is Hartsock. He has a more distinctive look and reactions on his face, and I think this game could hugely benefit from a more visually unique cast. All the characters just kind of look like stock army men, which is partially accurate since you are stripped of your hair and some personality while entering the service to better achieve your goals and your duties, but I still feel like there's a middle ground where you can be creative, like the scar and freckles on Hartsock's face really make him stand out to me personally. Or maybe a character who even just often smokes constantly on breaks to distinguish him. It doesn't have to be a fully visual thing based on his character, it could just be their habits. That is a great way to distinguish how we identify characters. Or perhaps a character with specific patches on his helmet denoting his tours. There are ways to make memorable characters in a realistic war game, but it is undeniably more difficult in the developer's defense. Back to the story, the game does a great job at just keeping a truly consistent, somber feel for almost its entirety. Each victory is bittersweet with loss, and the somber moments aren't over the top. They are realistic and gritty, adding a feel of uneasiness. When you experience a loss of a comrade in a Call of Duty storyline, you're usually sad because you lost an epic and cool character. But when someone dies or something is lost in Brothers in Arms, you get a real sense of dread in relation to the reality, because this is something that could easily happen and did happen many times throughout World War II. A moment that really stands out to me is when a comrade is killed by a sniper out of nowhere, which arguably could be seen as a cheap kill, but the focus isn't on the kill, the focus is on their inability to find the sniper that shot their friend. But they do find one thing. They find a number count. The sniper had etched into the windowsill from his position how many comrades of theirs he had killed. 7. 7 comrades of theirs were slain by this one man. It's realistic and a common practice in war to keep track of numbers like this. It's maddening to think that one man could cause so much harm to your side and for him to escape without any repercussions. I think realistic, somber, sad moments like this actually create more of an impact than those over-the-top, saving the world moments you might see in other games. Both have their place, but this was something really unique and interesting to me. Please keep in mind this game does also touch on PTSD, suicide, and the mental ramifications of war, so please keep that in mind heading into it. Including these topics does end up weaving in some horror elements later on into the game, having some hallucinations of fallen comrades. I am purposefully avoiding lots and lots of spoilers so that many players can watch this and then go enjoy the game themselves. It's a very uncommonly played game, so I'm sure if you're watching this, there's a really high chance you haven't played it. I do try to do a lot of spoiler-free stuff with my videos, and if you do enjoy that, make sure to let me know by liking the video and subscribing if you want to see more like it. But on a goofier note, this game also introduced me to Kilroys, which were real images drawn on surfaces during World War II to symbolize US soldiers that had been at that location before, sort of a tag it graffiti system. The Kilroys wiki even classifies it as a meme. Never thought I'd see the words World War II and meme in the same sentence, yet here we are. One last thing I wanted to touch on before I end this quick little passion video that I was compelled to make. This game has some of the most unique achievements I've ever seen on an Xbox game. They have daily login reward achievements. Focused, which is to play the game once a day for 7 days. Committed, which is to play the game once a week for 3 months, and obsessive, play the game once a day for 100 days. In most cases, daily login rewards like this are used for malicious habit building for pay-to-play mobile games to keep you playing and spending your money. But this game has no such incentive. I truly feel like this was just put in there for those hardcore fans in an already hardcore niche game, which I can love and appreciate. They also have a 50 Gamerscore achievement just for logging into the game on September 17th, assumedly to commemorate a specific battle. This game is very unique, just like its achievements, and if you are craving something different, I can't recommend picking it up enough for cheap. Brothers in Arms Hell's Highway is the definition of not judging a game by its cover, and I hope you enjoy it. I also hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please let me know by either liking or disliking if you did not find your time well spent. Consider subscribing for more videos like this one, and have a fantastic day, and maybe play some games today.